In this video, I'll show you how you can turn almost any React web application into a native desktop app with minimal effort using a framework called Tauri. So, let's get to it. Well, alright, so before we start making our app with Tauri, you're probably wondering, what is Tauri, and why should I even care about it? Well, Tauri is a framework that allows you to make native desktop apps in JavaScript. And you might be wondering, why should I use this? Well, let's take a hypothetical example. Let's just say we will need to make a desktop app that will run on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Now, if we were to make that app the traditional way for all those platforms, we would have to write the app once in Visual C++, once in Swift for Mac, and then once in C++ for Linux. That is a lot of work already. What's even worse is that every time we need to update that app, we'll have to add those features in all of those languages multiple times. Tauri allows us to have one code base written in JavaScript, which is a very easy language compared to C++, which has a lot of tiny things that you have to worry about. And with that one app, you can just build it for multiple platforms. And what makes Tauri even better is that Tauri uses JavaScript. And JavaScript is what most websites use. That makes it easier to make a carbon copy version of your web app as a desktop app, easily. Alright, so first I'm going to show you the setup of Tauri on Windows, Mac, and Ubuntu/Debian, and then once the setup is complete, I'll show you how you can turn the samples React application into a desktop app. So first, for the Windows setup, first I would strongly recommend that you open up the text-based version of this tutorial in a separate tab in your browser, so you can easily copy and paste the commands. Alright, so once you have the text-based version of the tutorial open in a separate tab on Windows, the first thing that you're going to want to do is download Visual Studio Build Tools 2019. It's very important that you have the 2019 version, because if you have the 2017 version, some functionality of Tauri won't work. So, in the text-based tutorial, you can click on this link to download the Visual Studio 2019 Build Tools. Once you click that link, your download will start, and you can save the download, and once it's done downloading, you're going to open it in folder, and then you're going to right-click on it, and then you're going to click on Run as Administrator. So it's going to take a few seconds to load, and then you can click on Yes here, and it'll take a few seconds to download a few files. Once the installer loads, it's going to ask you to accept the license agreement, and then it'll download a few more files here. The speed of this will depend on your internet connection, and then it'll install the files that it just downloaded. And then the installer window is going to pop up. Now, in this window, you want to go to the Workload section and select C++ Build Tools. Once you select that, you can click Install. Now, this is very large. It is a 5 GB application, and the download is a little bit under that, so the speed of this will depend on your internet connection and the speed of the computer that you're on, but this will take some time, so be prepared for that. So it'll start the operation. I'm going to skip through this part, and we'll be back once it's done installing. Alright, so as you can see, the installation for Visual Studio Build Tools 2019 has completed. So then you can X out of the installation window, and then the next step is to install Yarn, the JavaScript package manager. So to install Yarn, you're going to come to the Start menu, type in cmd, hit Run as Administrator, and hit Yes. It's very important that you run the program as administrator, otherwise it may not work. Then, once you have opened the command prompt, you're going to type in npm I for install, G for global, yarn. And it'll install yarn, and this will take some time, so we're going to skip through that. And here we are. So now just to confirm that yarn is working, you can type in yarn in the command prompt. And as you can see, we got an error, which means that yarn didn't install correctly. So what you can do, if that npm command doesn't work for you, you can go to your browser, you can go to Edge, type in yarn JavaScript, and then go to yarnpkg.com, click Getting Started, Installation, and then you can try running this command that they have here. So we'll try that again. And we can try Xing out of our terminal and coming back in. And as you can see, the command worked this time. So the first command might work for you. Sometimes you need to do the second command. But anyhow, now Yarn is installed. So once Yarn is installed, the next step is to install Rust with its cargo package manager. So again, in the text-based tutorial, you can click the link either for 64-bit or 32-bit. I have 64-bit, so I'm going to click on that link. And it's going to say run, save, hit save. And then hit open folder. Just like before, right-click on it, hit run as administrator. And it'll ask you, you can hit yes. And then you can, it's going to ask you proceed with the installation, customize installation, or cancel installation. So then you're going to hit 1 for proceed with installation. And this will take some time, so we're going to skip through this. Alright, so here at the end of the installation, it says to get started you need Cargo's bin directory in your path. And it also says that sometimes that happens automatically and sometimes it doesn't. So what I would say that you should do is copy this and then hit enter to continue and then relaunch your shell. So just close all your shells, relaunch it, run as administrator, and then see if you can run the command rust c. Now as you can see here, it worked fine, and then you can check for cargo by typing cargo. And so I didn't have to manually add it, but if you get an error when you run that command, to add it manually to path, you can come to the start menu, type in environment or env, environmental variables, come here to system path, and then you can click a new, click, and then paste that earlier path in here. Then you can click OK, OK, and OK. Alright, so now Rust is installed. Now this on Windows, Microsoft has something called loopback. And we have to enable loopback in order for the development server to work. So you're going to copy this command from the text-based tutorial and come here, and this will just disable the feature, paste it in an administrator command prompt, and then click enter. And it'll say OK, which means it worked fine. And then the last step for Windows setup is to install the Tauri bundler via Cargo. Now, Tauri uses Rust to make the native binary for your JavaScript app. So this is what will install basically what does the magic. So again, come over to your administrator command prompt, run this command. This command will take some time, so I'm going to skip through it. And as you can see, it installed successfully. And that is all you need to set up Tauri on Windows. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to set up Tauri on Mac. Now, the only prerequisite to doing this, in addition to Node.js and NPM, is that you have Homebrew installed. I already have Homebrew installed, But if you don't have Homebrew installed, you can copy this command from the text-based tutorial and run it in your terminal. So Command V to paste it, and it'll ask you for your password since it has to access the bin bash, and it is telling me to install it, so it's probably trying to update it. And this script, what's very nice about it is that it doesn't do stuff, it does stuff and explains you. And as you see, we just got a permission denied error. So to fix that, you can just prefix the command with sudo. So if you prefix it with sudo, it'll ask you for the password. And it's saying don't run this as root. That's weird. But let me see. Alright, so it's giving an error because I already have brew installed. But if you don't have brew installed, it'll tell you to it'll run that command without an error. The second step is that you gotta have Xcode command line tools installed. To do that, you can run xcode-select --install, and it says tools are already installed. And then the next step, once you have Homebrew installed, you gotta install GCC. So for those of you guys that don't know, GCC is a C compiler. So you can install that with brew install GCC and fix permissions by running. Okay, so it's saying that you gotta fix the permissions. So if it tells you to do that, fix the permissions, and then do more permission fixing, and then do more permission fixing. And it should let you install GCC now. And as you can see, it's installing it, and it's giving a permission denied error. But it's still working, so I think that's okay. It's downloading the files. This will take quite some time. And, oh, okay, GCC is already installed. So if you already have it installed, you should run brew upgrade GCC, just what it tells you. If you don't have it installed, which is going to be probably very few of you, then you can run the install command. And this will take quite some time. It's saying bottle installation failed, building from source, and then it has some other errors. So I already have it installed. So try prefixing it with sudo. And it says Homebrew does not provide installation like that. But if you already have GCC installed with a somewhat modern version, you can check by doing GCC-V or GCC-version. It seems like a pretty modern version. It says Apple Clang version 11, so that should be sufficient. So once you have that installed, then you can install yarn. So to do that, you can do npm install --global yarn. And this will install the yarn, and it will say missing write access. So this one, again, you can prefix just with sudo, and it worked. And when I run yarn, as you can see, it goes without an error. Now, the next step is to install Rust with its cargo manager. So to do that, you can copy this command from the text-based tutorial, and this will download the official setup script for installing Rust. So it will download the installer, and it will ask you proceed with the installation, the default installation, customize the installation, or cancel the installation. We want to proceed with the default, so we're going to hit 1, and it's downloading. It's downloading again. It's downloading. And this one happens relatively fast, actually. So I'm going to keep the screen cap going. And as you can see, it says you need to add this directory to your path. And it says that you might have to do that manually, or it might happen automatically. So they say first to run this source script, which will source their cargo folder. So run that, and then clear the shell, and then C. So you should be able to run 2 commands without getting an error. The first is rust C. So type in rust C, and it gave the help menu, which is correct, and then cargo, and then it gave the help menu that is correct again. And then the final step is to install the cargo bundler, and to do that you can copy this command in, Command V, and then it was like, this is the Tauri bundler, which is the Rust component of Tauri, and this seems to be happening relatively fast, so I'll leave the screen cap on. It's fetching the files. It's downloading one crate, Tauri bundler, and it's downloading a lot of these other 70 odd total crates, and then it's building them. Now the building process does take some time, so I'm gonna cut the recording and come back. And as you can see, the Tauri builder package has installed successfully. So that's all there is for setup on macOS. Now you can go straight to the building and bundling section. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how you can set up Tauri on a Debian-based computer. Now, for this tutorial, I'll be using Ubuntu 18.04, but this should work on any modern Debian-based distribution. So once you have the text-based tutorial open up, and you have scrolled down to the Debian section, you should open up your terminal. So the grid, the waffle at the bottom, and the terminal. And then, so the first thing that we have to do is install the dependencies. So these dependencies are things like curl, SSL, GTK, things that will allow Tauri to work. So you can just copy this command from the text-based tutorial, come over here, paste it in the terminal, Control-Shift-V to paste in the terminal, and then hit enter. And then it'll ask you for your password. This will take some time, so I'm going to skip through that. It might ask you, are you okay with the operation using disk space? You can hit Y there. Alright, so once that command is done installing all the dependencies, the next step is to install yarn. So to install yarn, you're going to type npm I for install, G for global, and then yarn. And then hit enter. And it might say that npm is not found and can be installed, so you can run this command to install npm, and you can hit yes, and then once it's done, then you can type npm I for install, G for global yarn. And then it will install yarn, and it will say +1 package yarn. And then you can see if it worked by typing yarn, and you might get something like this, and that means that that first command didn't work. So that means you can go to your browser, go to your search engine, and type in yarn package manager, home, get started, installation, and then here. Now, sometimes the previous command is the one that works and this one doesn't work, depending on your system. Sometimes this one works and the previous command doesn't work, so if the first one works, then you don't have to try this one, but if the first one doesn't work, then you should try this one. So then you can type this command, and then it'll give you an error maybe like this, and it's a permissions error, so you can add a sudo on the end, and then it should add the package, and then if you type yarn, you get a success message. Alright, so now that yarn has been installed, the next step is to install Rust and the cargo package manager. So to install that, you can copy this command and paste it in your terminal. This will download the official shell script for Rust and cargo, and you can paste that command and run, and it'll ask you, do you want the normal installation, do you want to customize the installation, cancel the installation. We want the normal installation, so we're going to click 1, and then this will take some time, so I'm going to skip through it. Alright, now here, as you can see, it says, to get started, you need to add cargo's bin directory to your path, and it says sometimes this happens automatically, sometimes it doesn't, and to configure it to happen now, we can run the source command that they have provided there. We can paste that command, and this will source the folder, and then we can try running the Rust command. So To do that, you can type rust c, and we didn't get an error. That means it's installed. And then the same thing for cargo, and enter. We didn't get an error. That means everything is installed. Now, the next step is to install the Tauri bundler. This is really where the magic happens. The Tauri bundler is what allows the JavaScript app to become the native app. So, you can paste this command, and this will take some time. It has to download a lot of things, so I'm going to skip through it. Alright, and as you can see, the Tauri bundler installation has succeeded without an error. So, the final step is to install npx, and for those of you guys that don't know, npx is a script runner for Node.js, and this will help us create React app when we build and bundle our app. So to install that, you can type npm install -g npx and then hit enter. And it will take some time here, and it has successfully or not successfully installed it. So, and it's a permission denied error, so we can fix that by prefixing a sudo and then running the same command, and once it's done, as you can see, it's installed without error. So if you type npx to verify the installation, it brings the help screen. So that's all you need to do to set up Tauri on a Debian-based system. So now you can proceed straight to the building and bundling portion. Alright, so now that you have Tauri installed, we can make the sample React app into a desktop application. So first, you should navigate to the directory where you put all your development projects. I'm doing that right now. For me, I'm just going to put it on desktop just for the sake of this tutorial. And then we can create the React app. So you can run this command, npx create React app, and for those of you guys that don't know, create React app is the default app generator for React. So in order for this to work, you'll need to have React installed, but I'm assuming that you already do since you're learning how to convert a React app into a desktop app. But if you don't, you can install it by running npm I for install, g for global, React. And then I have an older version of React, so it seems to be trying to update it. And should be done soon. And it's complete. So now that we have the latest version updated or installed, if you didn't have it already, we can create the app by running this command. So npx create React app Tauri tutorial. And then it will create the app. This takes quite some time, so I'm going to skip through it. And it's installing the dependencies for creating the React app. And as you can see, it is complete. So the first thing that we have to do is cd into the folder that we just made. And then here, just to confirm that everything is working, we can type npm start. And it will give something like this, and that is actually because we used yarn. So if we type yarn start, it's still giving some error. So we can try to fix this error. It's saying delete package.json, package.lock.json, not package.json, or yarn.lock, delete node modules, remove webpack. So you can try doing what they say, but first you can just try running yarn and see it's already up to date, and then just try npm install. And it seems to be installing something, so I think that explains the problem. And this will again take some time, so I'm going to skip through it. Alright, so we ran npm install, and then now if we run npm start, let's hope it works. No. Alright. This is giving a long suggestion of what to do. Oh, okay, here we go. It says React scripts package provided by React app requires a dependency. Alright, so I'm gonna try to fix this by switching back to my virtual machine. So I'll be back when I'm back in my Windows virtual machine. So I'm gonna change directory into that folder again, and I'm gonna make sure everything is in check there, and then I'm gonna try running npm start, and it seems to be working. You might get this firewall message, and you should click allow Node.js on private networks, and then click allow, and then there will be some. It'll say it's running on localhost, so you can copy that URL into your browser and hit paste. And as you can see, this the app is working properly. Now, I think that this React logo is supposed to be animated. I have no idea why it doesn't appear to be animated here. I'm going to see if it works in Internet Explorer just to see. Um, where's the... Alright, looks like it's some... Alright, just saying. Okay, good. Just use current page. It's fine. Use recommended. Yes, yes, yes. Good. And then if I just type that URL, localhost 3000, enter, it will take some time to load, I think. It doesn't... It seems like Internet Explorer isn't loading it at all. So, this animation, or this logo, should be animated. Maybe if you use Chrome. Again, this is a virtual machine, so I haven't gone and installed Chrome. But it should work. But now that we've confirmed that Tauri, or not Tauri, React has created the default application and it's working properly, now it's time to make a Tauri application out of this. So, this is very important. You have to make a new command prompt window, hit X, or not PowerShell, cmd, run as administrator, and I created this, just again, navigate, I made it right here, I just went right in there, and then in this window, so you can minimize the other window, in this window, we need to install the JavaScript part of Tauri. So to do that, you can run npm install tauri --save, and then this will install Tauri to this project. And if you remember in the setup, we installed the Rust portion of Tauri, which was called Tauri Bundler. And these two Tauris, I guess you could say, communicate with each other. The bundler makes the binary that is on Windows, the exe, on Mac, the app, on Linux, the .deb, and the Tauri JavaScript portion allows you to build the app in JavaScript and run npm commands. So this is going to take some time, so I'm going to skip through it. Again, this command will take some time to run, so just have to wait. And the command is completed without error. So now that we've installed Tauri, the JavaScript portion, we need to add Tauri scripts to the package.json file. So to do that, on Windows here, you can use any text editor, but I'm just going to open up Notepad, and I'm going to open that package.json. So this PC, this is where I put it. You would go to where you ever put your path. 32. We'll just scroll wherever you put it. Yours is probably not in this location. And we want all files. Notepad will default only try to open text files. You can just select package.json and hit OK. And then you want to copy the following keys and put them into the JSON object scripts. So right here, right under here, very important, you got to put a comma here, then hit enter, and then indent it just to make it look nice in the proper indentation. And then here, it won't indent the other ones, so just manually with spaces, you can indent them. And then here, remove the last comma. If you don't remove it, it will give you an error. And you can save it right there, package.json. Save and replace. And, okay, so the location that I have it is administrator protected. So I'm just going to X out of here, don't save, and then I'm just going to reopen Notepad as an administrator, and then open the correct file, or not save, open the correct file, so change that to all files, package.json there, and then paste the same things, and again putting the comma there, just gonna come here, put the indentation, remove the comma, now it'll let me save it since I ran the program as administrator. And if yours looks like this, then you can minimize or X out. I'm going to minimize the notepad, and then you have to initialize the Tauri project. So when I come over here into the command prompt, I'm going to run npm run Tauri init and hit enter. It will initialize. What's your app name? I'm just going to put app. What's the window title? Just leave it at default for now. Our app is running at localhost 3000, so http://localhost://3000 What's the URL? And then where are your assets? You can put /build. We don't really have any assets right now, so that seems to work fine. Then it will just update a few crates, and then it will make sure that you have the correct dependencies installed, and eventually it will be back. Now, if you clear the window and then you view the directories in that folder, so ls for Mac and Linux and dir for Windows, you'll see that there's a new folder called src Tauri. The Tauri binaries are all going to go there. And now that we have Tauri installed, we have to build the application normally with npm, so just simple npm run build. And this is just building the production optimized one. It's using the standard npm build script. This will take some time, so I'm gonna skip through this. And the build was complete. Now, we just built it using npm, just like we would for any React app. Now we have to build the binary. And to do that, you run a command that is npm run bundle. And now if you remember, in our package.json, we manually specified that bundle command. That's because Tauri didn't add it here manually. In future versions of Tauri, that might happen automatically, but for the time being, just make sure that bundle script is there, otherwise it won't work. So now you can run npm run bundle, hit enter, and it's running build. This will take a lot of time. On the first time, as you can see, it has to download, if I remember correctly, approximately something around 100 or 50 crates, so very large amount of crates. This will take a lot of time the first time. However, on subsequent bundle command runs, it will be substantially faster. So since this will take quite some time, I'm going to skip through it and resume the recording once it's complete. The speed of this process will really depend on the speed of the computer that you're on and the speed of your internet. You might get this pop-up, you can just click no, and it looked like it went with an error. And it's a shell scripting error, error running candle.exe. So what I'm going to do, I've never gotten this error before, so I'm going to Google this error. Candle.exe. I'm gonna remove it. Error running candle.exe. It looks like, okay, so they're just trying to get you on their mailing list. Let's try, let me just open a bunch of them, see what happens. Uh, Error, candle.exe seems to have trouble parsing quoted command line arguments ending in a backslash. For example, you can change what they give the example, they say change example to this. Now, I don't see the difference. Oh, okay. There's backslashes in this command, which that doesn't really make sense because I didn't have any backslashes. Now, I'm gonna see if I can figure out what command was running. I'm gonna try running it again. Just sometimes that fixes it. And this time it was miles faster. And it's loading it, building it. And I'm just gonna, while it's doing that, I'm gonna look and see if there's any other errors. No. No, this doesn't have any answer. No. While that's doing it, running candle.exe. Okay, so let's see if it errors out this time. I don't know if it will. Okay, and then did this pop-up did come up. Would you like to view information about this issue? Yes. Yes, I would like to view information. Okay, I don't want to view double information. Okay, I'm saying that there's an error, but I'm gonna see if the binary was built anyhow. So the binary, if it gets built successfully, it will be in whatever folder you have the original app. So in my case, that's here. It'll be an src-tauri target release, and it looks like the binary was built, so maybe it'll still work. Let's see if we double click it, and yeah, so the app was built, so that error is a meaningless error, at least the way that it looks right now. You can ignore it for now. If that error seems to be causing you some problems, please let me know in the comments, but anyhow, it looks like our app was built successfully, and this looks exactly like the web app version, as I still have it open here. And as you saw, besides the setup was probably the most complicated part about that. It was very simple, and if you have a more complicated React app, what you can do is you can just copy the root folder of your React app and just do the second portion of this tutorial, which on the written version was not creating the app. You already have the app from steps 2 here to 6. You can just do that, and in most cases, you should have a React app a native app right away. For example, here is one React project that I had done following a tutorial that I was able to easily convert to a standard native application. So this was an app that I did as part of a tutorial, and as you can see, it's a standard restaurant searching app. Some of you guys may recognize this app, and I can search for pizza, and let's just say New York, and hit enter. Now, I'm not going to show you how to build this app, but point is that this app uses the Yelp API, so even something a little bit more complicated that accesses APIs, that has images, that's fetching them from the web, all of that just works. So anyhow, that's been it for this video. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.